Now, the Protestants came along and said, we don't need it every day. There's no hocus pocus mokeness, there's no magical thing about it. Bread is bread. What you see is what you get. So Calvin said, we receive him by faith, not by teeth. He ends up in the soul, not in the stomach. He doesn't pass out as a poopy. He stays in and he's with you forever. Now, the Presbyterians in Scotland decided the best way to deal with this Catholic nonsense was to have communion only once a year. The Scottish Presbyterians, once a year, they would have communion. You first met with the elders of your church. You passed an exam. They gave you a communion token. You can buy these in a coin shop. It's called a communion token. It's metal. Admit this one person for Holy Communion. And they would arrive, let's say, outside of Edinburgh. Any of you been to Edinburgh? Marvelous. Arrive up on the hills of the heather. By the tens of thousands they would come. It was glorious. Glorious. They all pitched tents. They'd be singing the Psalms of Zion. It would revival, preaching all day long, singing, fellowshipping. And the communion service once a year, they'd have a table with an elder at each end. And they'd have 10, so it always was 12. And they would take you up in groups of 10. This is all those from, and then list some town in Scotland, Amesbury, First Presbyterian Amesbury. Then you would traipse up, and if you had no coin, you were not allowed to sit at the table. Once you sat, it was served, you had communion, you went down. Now imagine how long it took for thousands of people to sit at it all day, the next day. Sometimes it would take a week. Once a year. Every day, several times a day, only once a year. How many think that's a little extreme on both sides? The evangelical tradition is once a month. The verse just says, as often as you want to do it. So you can have communion, 2 or 3 gathered together. It's not for magical purposes. But see, baptism is the door by which you enter into the church, visible. And that's why it's important. That's why November 20th, we're having a baptismal service here. Because I feel it's very important. Now, there is what is called a caveat, a little footnote called the baptism of desire. What do you do with someone who's come to know Christ as their Savior? They're signed up to be baptized. They haven't quite been baptized, but they really want to take communion. Well, that's where you say the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. You know Christ and you're going to be baptized? Yeah, I don't think Jesus will be too nasty about it. Yeah, come on, take it in. So generally you're a little lax, but the point is you have to be baptized. That's all communions. I don't care who you are. Next question.